in math, we've been talking all about measurement. Looking at this measurement on our board, what unit are we talking about? Kenya? What unit are we talking about?
Meters.
Say it louder.
Meters.
Meters. Excellent. What do you think we're using here? What is the unit here? I didn't put it. What do you think it is, Claude?
I think it's about distance.
Okay, you're right. It is about distance, but remember, when I say the unit of measure, you're talking about what you're using to measure. So this you know is meters because I have the M here. Elijah, what do you think this is using? What unit?
Centimeters.
Excellent job. So I'm going to put centimeters over here. Remember, cm is the short way to write centimeter. How many centimeters are in 1 meter again, Marcus? Remember, remember centi. What does the centi mean? 100. So we have 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Okay, today we are going the distance. We are going the distance from school to the food store, from school to Alex's house, from school to Charles's house, and from school to the ballpark. The only problem is that I only know the distance between school and home, school and the food store, between the food store and Alex's house, between Alex's house and Charles's house, and between Charles's house and the ballpark. I want you right now to think, how can I find the distance between the school and Alex's house? What do you think I could do if I want to find the distance from school to Alex's house? What do you think? Think about it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hands, 6 hands, 7 hands. Think about it. I know how far it is from school to the food store. I know how far it is from the food store to Alex's house. How do I find out how far this whole thing is? Just think about it. Emil, you're kind of raising your hand. You're kind of not. What are you thinking? Talk us through what you're thinking.
Maybe we could add 500 and add on to the next to 430.
Why would we add those two numbers together?
Because we're trying to figure out how to get to 170, and that's bigger than we have to subtract. That's add.
Can I interrupt you for just 1 second? So you had the first part right. You are going to add these two numbers together. However, we're not adding these numbers to get to 170, right? We're saying that from Alex's house to Charles's house, is this a long distance or a short distance?
Short.
It looks kind of short, right? So this right here, 170, is only the distance between these two houses. Right? Think about your neighbor's house. Your neighbor's house is close to you. Then I want you to think about where your house is in comparison to school. That's a much longer distance. Okay? So these two houses are close. From school to Alex's house looks further. So I want us to imagine right now we're sitting in a bus. Our bus is right here. We have to take the bus from school all the way to Alex's house. When I get to Alex's house, just say stop.
Stop.
Okay. So I need to know how long this whole thing is. So I'm adding y. Troy.
You're adding because you have to get from the first thing to the second thing and you're going over.
Right, I am. I'm taking this way, and I don't stop at 500, right? I keep going past 500 until I get to Alex's house. Okay? So let's do that now. Demarius, I noticed you moved your seat. However, you're still sitting up, so I need you to sit on your bottom. All right, so we have 500. Right, because we don't stop at the food store. Then we go from the food store to Alex's house, which is how much?
430 meters.
430 meters. Hold on to your thought, okay? And 430 meters. And we said we added it because we made it longer. Right? When we make something longer or bigger, we add. All right. Who can do this quickly? I'm looking here and I notice there is no regrouping, so who can do this quickly? You don't have to. So far, so good. Not 100% sure. Now here, if you sit back, I'll help you as long as you walk me through it, okay, with your words. So have a seat on your bottom. So you have 0 and you're adding on 3. So hold on to 0 and count up till you get to 3. 0. 3. Right? We didn't have to cross anything out. Now, we're going to pretend like this cross out is not there. So now, Jaden, what do I have to add? Okay. Who knows that answer without using your fingers?
1.
9. Excellent. How long is it, or how far is it, from school to Alex's house? Jaden. 930 monkeys? 930 meters. Now, let's look even further. Now we want to go from school to Charles's house. So this time we're not stopping at Alex's house. We're going further to Charles's house. What do I have to do now? Alec. So this is how far it was to your house, and I know that number is equal to 930. So now I have to take that number and go to Charles's, and I stop at Charles's house, and how much is that? Holy moly, me oh my.
You're the apple of my eye.
Girl, I never loved one like you. Awesome. So what two numbers did Alex say that we had to add this time? Demarius. 170 and so we already know this distance.
500.
Right? This number is 500 from school to the food store. But then we had to go from the food store to Alex's house, which gave us this whole long line. What was the answer to that whole long line, Samara? Excellent. So we take Alec's house, but we don't want to stop at Alec's house this time. We want to go further. And what do we add to 930, Lunabella? 170. All right, now we will have regrouping. So if I have 2 zeros in the ones place, what does that give me in the ones place? Jamarius, can you take a break for me? Jaden? 0. All right, so I have 3 in the tens place and 7 in the tens place. How much does that give me? 10. Gives me 10 tens. I regroup 10 tens into how many hundreds and how many tens?
10 and 100.
Alright, so now I have 100 plus 900 plus 100. What does that give me, Kenya? 11 hundredths. How many meters is it from school to Charles's house? Brianna. 1,100 meters. My goodness. Okay. Now, we know how long it is from school to Charles's house. Let's find out how long it is from school to the ballpark. Say we want to go the distance and take a field trip to the ballpark. How would I find that answer? Marcus?
1,100 plus 100 equals.
Why did you say 100?
Because the ballpark is 100 meters
From
from
whose house?
Charles.
Right. So we know that 1,100 meters is how far it is from school to Charles's house. Now we need to add on how long it is from Charles's house to the ballpark. So I have 1,100 plus 100. In the number 100, how many ones are there? What's the number in the ones place? 0. What is the number in the tens place, Kenya?
0.
And what is the number in the hundreds place, Jason?
1.
Hold on to your thought, bud. So now we're adding. Who thinks they can do this just by looking at it? All right, Alec, you're going to tell me these 2 answers. Winter, you're going to tell me these 2. All right.
0.
If we wanted to walk from school to the ballpark, it would take us 1,200 meters. Okay. Now I just want to be silly and I want to see if you can do this. I'm noticing that just by looking at Jason's face, he knew that answer before we even solved it together. Jason, give yourself a pat on the back. That's awesome. Now, let's see who can do this. I want you to tell me how far it is from the food store to Charles's house. What would you have to do just from the food store to Charles's house? Gianni, are you raising your hand? All right.
You would have to add 430. Yeah, 430 with
So I add this amount and this amount?
No. You add 430 with just 100.
This does say 100. What does this say?
700. I mean, no, 170.
So which two numbers do I add?
Oh yeah.
If I'm going from the food store to Charles's
Oh
house.
yeah. You add 430 with 170.
Why do I add those two numbers, Dominic?
Because 170 is at Charles's house.
So we have 430 meters from the food store to Alex's house. And then we have 170 from Alex's house to Charles's house. We have to add these two because I want to go from the food store all the way to Charles's house. Winter, do you see that? All right. So we have 430 plus 170. Jason,
600.
walk me through it, just so we can double check. Because clearly your brain is working
Excuse me.
overtime right now. Let's do it verbally. Can you help me with your words?
Yes. You put a 0 down there. 3 plus 7 equals 10. You put a 1 above the 4. You put a 0 under the line. And you put a 6 right under the line.
Let's just double check. 1 plus 4 is? 5 plus 1 is?
6.
Well done, sir. Have a seat. So it takes 600 meters to get from the food store to Charles's house. Ooh, I'm not going to even write this down. How long does it take to get from the food store to the ballpark? Claude.
530 meters.
How did you get that?
Because I added the 0 and the 0 would give me 0 and 3 and 0 would give me 3 and 4 plus 1 was 5.
So I'm actually traveling from the food store all the way to the ballpark. How much was it from the food store to Charles's house again?
600.
Okay, so if I stopped here, it would be 600, but I have to go an extra 100.
7.
So it would be 700 meters. Excellent job. All right, now, can anyone tell me how far it is from Alex's house to the ballpark? Marcus? Okay, Kenya?
270.
Monkeys? 270 meters. Excellent. My last question. Who can tell me where I traveled? If I traveled 500 meters from where to where? Charles. 500 meters. Where did I travel? Dominic.
To Alex's house.
From where?
From school to Alex.
From school all the way to Alex's house is only 500 meters? That's 930. How far did I travel if I only traveled 500 meters in my life? Excellent. Who can tell me where I traveled if I only traveled 170 meters? Alec. From where? Excellent. And last question, who can tell me where I traveled if I traveled 270 meters? Winter. From where to the ballpark? So I went from Charles's house to the ballpark, and that's 270. How far is it from Charles's house to the ballpark? 100, right? Charles's house to the ballpark. This is 100 meters. I'm saying I moved 270 meters. No, where did I travel from? I went from school to Charles's house? Whoa. I traveled from the school all the way to the ballpark, and that was 270 meters. From school all the way to Charles's was 270 meters? My gracious. Just from school to the food store is 500. What number is bigger, 500 or 270? What number is bigger? 500 is bigger, right? And that's only from here to here. I'm saying I only traveled 270 meters. Hunter, you got it now? From the food store to Alex's house is 430. What number is bigger, 430 or 270? 270 is bigger than 430? 430 is bigger. So I only traveled 270 meters. Alright, so from Charles's house to the ballpark is only 100 meters. I'm saying I traveled 200 meters. Samara. From Alex's house to the ballpark. What two numbers would I have to add to find out my answer, Dominic? From Alex's house to the ballpark. So I'm here, I'm standing here. That's where I start. And then I travel. And I stop. How far did I go? So I add 170 meters, and then I have to go to the ballpark, and I stop. How far did I go? So what two numbers do I add? What number is that? 170 plus 100 equals how much? How much is this? Isn't that the key word I've been saying? The key number I've been saying, 270. So it took me 270 meters from Alex's house, right, to the ballpark. This is a little tricky. This is where we will be using our measurement in the real world. So for homework tonight, you have a very similar